Imagine you just want to chill a bit, play some games with a friend of yours in Order Mortis, in your E5, because you didn't play it in quite some time, and suddenly you see a chieftain in the enemy team. You might think, yeah, we already have some chieftains. We have a chieftain prototype on tier 9, a chieftain on tier 8, and we have the T95 FV 4201 chieftain on tier 10. But this one doesn't have any naming to it. No, it is the Chieftain MK6, which has been in the SuperTest for never on the youuuu server and has been in the game files for what? 5, 6, 7 years? And Wargaming said, nah, you know guys, this tank is a little bit too hard to balance. But now it looks like it is on the live server tested by SuperTesters. And that is why I want today to have a look at it with you on Tanks.gg to give you information about it, what to look out for, and what you can do against it. My name is RagingRaptor, and I welcome you to this video. So, the Chieftain MK6, yes, back in the days, Wargaming said this tank was too hard to balance. Why? Really good DPM, decent turret armor, decent mobility, amazing gun handling. Because the Chieftain MK6 is still a tank from the old school of balancing, where they have some glaring weaknesses but also decent strengths. And that Wargaming also didn't really mind to give tanks good DPM and good gun handling, you know? And this was the main problem, because you can see right here, we are comparing the Chieftain to the E5. And E5 currently is one of the best tier 10 DPM heavy tanks compared with mobility and gun handling. And you can already see it, 180 more DPM. Yes, the pen is also better, but it is APCR, so we are losing the normalization. And the premium rounds only have 310mm of penetration and not 340. But we also have Hesh with 515 pen damage and 140 pen. So if you have intuition on the Chieftain MK6, it's gonna be pretty spicy. Now, let's figure about this. Better aim time, better accuracy on the move, worse accuracy during turret traverse, at least on the against the E5. Compared to the Super Conqueror, it is exactly the same. If we go over here, you can see. Accuracy on the move is exactly the same. The mobility is also pretty decent with 42 kph on top speed and 15 in reverse. But the main issue is you have pretty poor HP per ton ratio, meaning that the Chieftain MK6 definitely is going to need that additional horsepower from a turbo. Otherwise you will be, or you'll be a fairly slow pumpkin. Terrain resistance is not too bad. You can work with it. It has 10 degrees of gun depression. And the armor, this is the main point where we have to look at. The armor is, let's put it that way. Yeah, no, how should I say it? Normal or old school. Let's put it that way. Let's look at the damage model right here. And you can already see from the front, this tank has a massive lower plate. It has an upper plate which is only protected by angles. It has even the ability to get penned on this part right here, like the Centurion Action X. And it has a very big 60mm cupola. But the magic happens if you start to go roll down. Then you start to notice that the cupola is still there, and it's still a sizable cupola. You can still hit it fairly decently. But then you can start to see that you can only really pen the Chieftain anymore right here under the gun. And obviously here, but that will be hard to hit. Even if you load premium rounds, not much changes. Yes, you can penetrate a lot easier down here. You can see 100% pen rate with heat. But that's about it. You can't really pen the turret thanks to its angles. Obviously though, if you start to go straight again, heat is going to murder this thing, as you can see. Here green, this is all green. And did you know the funniest thing? You can overmatch the Chieftain MK6 on the side with everything above 120mm. Keep that in mind when you face this thing, that it cannot side script. You are going to get fucked in it. But on the other hand, as you could have seen, it is pretty good in hull downing. It is also pretty mobile and has amazing DPM, so you have to keep that in mind. If I'm not mistaken, currently the Chieftain MK6 has the highest tier 10 heavy tank DPM in the game. And that is not something you should just take lightly, but because the gun is also very accurate, and you can also use premium rounds which have 310mm of penetration and are APCR, so they're fairly quick. So the only real tanks you might struggle with this kind of APCR is against tanks like the E100, which has around 330, I think, turret armor effective it is frontally. If we compare it to the Super Conqueror, you can still see green across the board except for the armor. And also here we're going to ignore the APs round because we have the same on the on the E5. But you can see that with APCR it's the same deal. You can only really pen here, and that's about it. With the hull it's a little bit worse because you still have those really interesting angles. But now you might say to yourself, okay, isn't the Chieftain then going to be insanely overpowered? I don't believe so. I believe the Chieftain MK6 is to the T95 Chieftain what the FV215B is to the Super Conqueror. But it's a lot better. Because the FV215B doesn't have any armor. The Chieftain does. You can see it. It only really works when you hold down. Best example right here. But it works. Because now if you really look at the damage model of the T95 Chieftain, the one which everybody hated, you start to notice that the armor is miles better. You have 88mm of side armor. You have a reliable hull. Yes, here it doesn't work obviously, but it has a very minuscule cupola and it has a completely red turret. And it only gets barely yellow with heat. And if you start to go into a gun depression position, you can see that the cupola is almost hidden, or is basically barely hittable. And if you load heat rounds, you can still barely hit the cupola. You can only really go for underneath the gun. So I guess this, when we are now comparing these two together, let me just quickly do this. You start to understand, wrong button. You now start to understand why the Chieftain MK6 armor-wise will most likely be not as bad as the Chieftain we have currently in the game for everybody which used to play CV in the game, because the cupola is making a massive difference. So now is the question, where does this leave us? What is Wargaming planning to do with this vehicle? I believe Wargaming could theoretically make a FOMO event, like an auction event or a builder event, like they did with the 552K, with the 780, with the Leone, and with the there was one more, the KPC 07 RH. That would be tragic. Why would it be tragic? Chieftain MK6 is an iconic vehicle. It is beloved by many tank fans because it is a real tank. So if Wargaming would then start to gate this vehicle behind massive grinding in a FOMO event, meaning that you can only really get it once and then it's gone, that would be fantastically scummy. It could happen, but I beg that they don't do it, because this tank is so iconic and will gate so many people at the later stages when they want to join World of Tanks, or they don't have the money to buy it right now, or the resources to get it right now. It would be absolutely disgusting if Wargaming would do it. I would love to see this vehicle as a new vehicle for personal missions. We are still waiting for them, and we still hope to get new ones. That would be great. Wargaming could also just make this as a separate tier 10 vehicle beside the Super Conqueror, like they already did on console, or in Blitz, I think. Or they could introduce it as a bond vehicle. My point is just that Wargaming, please, do not hide this tank behind a time-gated Clan Wars, or even worse, auction event. Or building hall event. I don't know what the English name is at the moment. Because that would be absolutely tragic. But if that out of the way, let me know in the comment section below what you think about this tank and what you think that is now getting tested. My name is RagingRaptor and I see you around. Cheers.